Hey guys, welcome to a segment of the Grind Never Stops podcast. This is your host DJ Joe coming to you live here. As in today's episode, we're going to recap the first round of the NBA playoffs and we're going to preview the round two, as round two has already been underway, and we are going to recap the first one as well. And don't forget to like that button, to hit the subscribe button and get us as to 400 subs, as we're at 394. And we want to thank everyone's support from day one. And I want to thank everyone who has been watching this podcast of mine since day one. And I always want to support my supporters, and thank for the man above for giving me the strength to do these episodes. But in today's episode, we're gonna recap round one of the NBA playoffs and preview round two. And then in our next episode, we're gonna preview the NHL playoffs round one. As you can see, the merch, you can get yourself your merch, as we're having some great deals. Grab your shirt, grab your hat, and we have both men and women and all sizes, and the website will be in the description. But let's get on with the round one recap. And let's start with the Western Conference. As you know, the one seeded Suns played the number 8 seeded Pelicans, and this was going to be a great matchup, but unfortunately, Williamson did not play this season and did not play a single minute in these playoffs. And it was tough for the Pelicans all season long, but them acquiring a shooting guard from Portland, CJ McCollum, they're having JV at the front. They got Ben Ingram. They also got defensive anchor Alvarado, who played great, but it wasn't enough. And the Pels did their work when Devin Booker was out, but when Devin Booker returned in Game 6, that was ball game. And maybe if D Book did not return, maybe Pels would have won. But as you saw in Game 6, Booker did not have the game of his life, so you gotta take that into consideration. But Chris Paul did not miss in Game 6. What was it, like 14 for 14 from the floor? So I think Chris Paul's a clutch player, and a lot of people don't agree with Chris Paul being a clutch player, but the Suns beat the Pels 4-2. Next, the four-seeded Mavs played the Utah Jazz, and the Mavericks won that in six. And the first three games, Luka Doncic did not play. So that was great from the Dallas Mavericks, who hold it as the fourth for Doncic. And as he returned, it was a ball game. And the Jazz are a bunch of trash. They're a bunch of scammers, man. The regular season, they're great. But this season, I don't think they were great this season. With losing Joe Ingles to injury, trading him away, with Bogdanovich missed many games, with the unchemistry of Rudy Gobert and Spider Mitchell. And I really think that the Jazz need to get rid of Gobert, and because Spider Mitchell is the heart and soul of the Jazz, because I rather have the Jazz without Gobert than without Spider Mitchell. So they're gonna make some big decisions on that. But the Jazz get sent home once again in the first round, and the Dallas Mavericks win their first playoff series since Dallas won the cup in 2011. Next, against the Golden State Warriors, played the Denver Nuggets, and this was a test for the Warriors, because they played against two-time MVP, well, future two-time MVP Nikola Jokic, the Joker. But even though the Joker played great in the final two, I don't think he made a huge impact in this matchup, as the Denver lost 4 times and the Denver won once. And it's better than being swept as an MVP and as a one-time MVP, but I think the Nuggets don't have that it factor with Jamal Murray not playing this season, Michael Porter Jr. as well. So they had so many injuries and they just couldn't get it done because you can't have Will Barton trying to take over this team or Boogie Cousins. And I really feel they should give Boogie Cousins a starting position, but that's a discussion for another day for free agency. But the Golden State Warriors played amazing. Jordan Poole continued his surgence for the Warriors. Klay Thompson had some huge games, and Steph Curry returned with a bang and did not have a great game at the final 2 games, but it don't matter if you win four of the possible 5 games. So they move on, and the Memphis play the Timberwolves. So this is what got me so pissed off on how the Wolves are known for being a defensive team, but the only thing that lacked in this loss for the Timberwolves was the it's the defensive side, because the Wolves had a lead in every single game. Blew They blew a 20-point lead. What was it? 26-point lead in game 5, and then they blew another 16-point lead in game 6, which is, yes, they're a 7 seeded team, but they're known for having a defensive team, and Anthony Edwards played a great matchup. Patrick Beverley also was a little bit great, but it's not like this is not just about individual defense. This is about team defense, and the Wolves need to do something about this on the defensive side. If it's getting a new coach, if it's trading D'Angelo Russell, because D'Lo was not there in this series. He did not show up one bit. Yes, he had that one game, but other than that, he was a no-show. And for the Grizz, they should be winning this in 5 or a sweep. But just the Wolves are not a trash team, and you gotta thank the Wolves for a wonderful season for making the playoffs. So, but the Memphis Grizzlies played great. They were playing from behind basically every single game except game 2. They were been playing from behind all series long, and they were able to come back and beat the Wolves in 6 games. But let's preview the round 2 before we go to the Eastern Trash Conference. So for the Suns, we'll play the Dallas Mavericks. They're playing right now as we speak on halftime as the Suns lead on the Dallas Mavericks, and the Golden State Warriors will play. So right now the Suns are up. It's live right now. Halftime, the Suns are up 69-56. So expect the Suns to win Game 1 at home, but you don't know what the Dallas Mavericks could do in the second half. Next, the Wolves are playing the Grizz, and the Golden State Warriors won Game 1. Game 2 will be tomorrow night in Memphis on TNT. So, a lot of questions about last night, because I really feel that the refs were all over the Grizzlies' court. It was always the refs wanted Memphis to win this one. Nobody likes the Golden State Warriors. I don't like the Golden State Warriors. But the way they were treated on the whistle side was horrible. It was horrendous how they were treated uh, on the ref side. And it's so funny how refs almost decided this game from the get go and of the end. And what I don't get is the final possession before Ja had the layup. The ball touched Dylan Brooks, and it went out of bounds. And the refs, even in a playoff round two in the semifinals, in the final position of the game, it's Golden State ball. The ball went off Aaron Brooks' hand. The refs did not even look at it, and they said to the coach Steve Kerr, they said, "We won't take a look if you have no challenge." This has nothing to do with a challenge. It's in the rule book. In the final 2 minutes, the refs need to check every possession out of bounds, foul. They have that chance, but for some reason, they give it a jump ball. Like, I don't even get this massacre from the refs. But thank God the Warriors won game one. Klay Thompson with a huge switch defensively in the final possession, which caused Ja Morant to miss that layup. And I really think the Warriors should play zone because the Grizz are not a huge 3-point team. And yes, they played zone like 50% of the game, but and Ja Morant did have one of his best 3-point shooting performances. But I still think for the Grizzlies, the Grizzlies should not make Ja Morant fall in love with the three, and the Warriors, you're fine with that because Ja Morant cannot shoot the basketball. But for predictions, I got the Suns winning this in 7 games. I still like Mavericks, but I don't think that Mavs don't have anybody outside of Jalen Brunson, uh, Spencer Dinwiddie. Outside of Doncic, they have nobody, and it's tough. They let Porzingis go, but you got to give up someone to get someone. And Spencer Dinwiddie is not having an efficient playoffs, but you'll see what's gonna happen. But I still got Suns in 7. And for the Golden State Warriors and the Grizz, I think as of right now, the Warriors can beat the Grizz in 5 games, but I'm not surprised if it doesn't go to 6 games. But I don't see Grizzlies winning this matchup. I'm sorry, but they just don't have that factor. The Golden State Warriors they have a championship players, Draymond Green, and one thing I forgot, you should not eject Draymond Green. And we're gonna talk about reffings in the first round in the East, but like you cannot throw Draymond in the second round of the NBA playoffs. And like Steph Curry said, it's not good for the game. And yes, it's not good for the game. It's horrible. So now the refs decide the game. This is the playoffs. They should let them play. And this is not. That wasn't a flagrant 2 foul. And it's just refs deciding the outcome of the game is so bad. But thank God the Warriors played great in the second half. Jordan Poole had the game of his life with the 31 points, 7 boards, and 8 dimes. Curry did not play amazing, but he had a big shot. Klay did not play efficiently all game long, but that's what he is, a it factor. He hit some big shots down the stretch, especially hit the game-winning three-pointer before Ja Morant missed. And Klay missed 2 free throws at the end, which was very rare from Klay Thompson, but don't expect that to happen again. As game 2 for the Golden State Warriors and the Grizz will be tomorrow. Now let's go to the Eastern Conference. So, last series I'm gonna talk is about the Raptors in Philly, but let's talk about the Miami Heat blew out the Atlanta Hawks as the Heat beat the Hawks in 5, and you know this was gonna be a Miami Heat win, but I didn't think that the Hawks would play that trash with Jimmy Butler and Kyle Lowry and all these boys missing the final games. And Trey Young had a horrible game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4, and especially game 5. Because look at what he did last year and this year, it was a big negative. But expect Trey Young to play better next season. And Clint Capella was there, but did not do much. Also, Bogdanovich did not do much as well. And Jason Collins, I still feel he wasn't a factor, and I still think he wasn't 100%. But the Miami Heat blew out the Hawks in 5 games. And next, the Milwaukee Bucks played the Bulls. And for everyone who's been hating on DeMar, you gotta know that in Game 5, people were saying how DeMar, oh, it's the same old DeMar. What do you mean same old DeMar? They were triple teaming DeMar DeRozan. Vucevic was playing horrendous in the final 3 games. Zach LaVine did not play in Game 5. Alex Caruso did not play in Game 5. Lonzo Ball did not play in the final 15 games of the regular season, and Lonzo Ball did not play a single minute in the series against the Bucks in 5. But because the Bucks were triple teaming DeMar DeRozan on every single possession, so it's obviously DeRozan will play horrendous and not scoring that much. That's why I don't like how the Milwaukee Bucks play defense, and I still think they still won't win it this season again. They won it last season, but I still feel they won't win it this season. But the Bucks win in 5 as Chris Middleton got injured in Game 2. Since then, he hasn't returned, and he's expected to miss all of round 2. Next, we got the Celtics played the Nets. I thought that the Nets blew this one, not because Kyrie or KD's inefficiency, or the factor to not play Blake Griffin, Steve Nash first playoff. No, this was not what I mean by blowing this up. It was Game 1. Game 1 was the outcome of this, because the Nets had a huge run at the end of Game 1 and they were controlling this, but just the final possession of the Brooklyn Nets was very horrendous. And after losing Game 1 at the buzzer, and the way they ended that buzzer defense on Jason Tatum, and that was KD's fault, but it was just they had to have a better defensive stance for that final buzzer. That blew the series out, because they could have won Game 1, they could have won Game 2, they could have won obviously Game 3, and they could easily won Game 4. And yes, they should have played Blake Griffin from the get-go. And yes, Kyrie should have played better. And yes, Kevin Durant. And yes, Kyrie played good Game 1. But that last buzzer beater on the defensive side was horrendous. But Kyrie did not have a great Game 2, nor Game 3, nor Game 4. KD as well did not have a great Game 2 and did not have a Game 3, but had an amazing performance in Game 4, but it was too late. No one was hitting shots. And the Nets had a tough season, with Kyrie Irving missing most of the season, with him not taking the vaccine. Joe Harris missed more of the season with an injury early. Kevin Durant missed 20 games. Bruce Brown played well in the whole season and in the playoffs. Steve Nash's not first run about last year, but it was his run in the playoffs with the boys without James Harden, and them getting Ben Simmons, who should have played in Game 3, should have played in Game 4, 1, 2, should have played at the end of the regular season, but I don't understand how the guy's partying. He hasn't played in a year and a half, and he's been having back problems. Which back problems do you have, Ben Simmons? So that wasn't great from the net side, But I think Ben Simmons need to make a decision because he just cannot ruin his career by being selfish, by being a little bitch. So I think next season they're gonna have to do something about Ben Simmons. But I'm pretty sure he will play come training camp and regular season. But it's tough to see Kyrie and KD because they were predicted to go to the finals, but that was with James Harden. And I still think that trade was a win-win. People thought, James Harden. And I'm a Sixers fan too. I'm a Raptor fan too, but James Harden is not the James Harden we can see with his injuries and all that. But one day you'll see James Harden back to his old self. But as the Celtics, and we're not talking about the Celtics here yet, and we just gotta take the credit on how the Celtics play defense. And yes, they again like the Bucks, they triple team KD every possession. They double team Kyrie, and just the Nets playing Blake Griffin super late in this series was just like so late and horrible because Blake Griffin, w- you saw that 7 minute span that he hit back to back threes, a dunk, a block, a steal, hit some free throws. They should have played Blake Griffin more, but it's tough. But the Celtics play great D, and yes, they triple teamed Kyrie and KD every possession, but overall they played great defense. Jalen Brown played amazing. Jason Tatum expanded his game with his playmaking. Marcus Smart played great defensively on Kyrie. So it's just, and Williams was playing out of his mind. Grant Williams was playing out of his mind. And yes, Robert Williams the third returned, but I think Grant Williams was a small factor off the bench for the Celtics. As the Celtics move on to play the Bucks in round two. And now let's talk about my favorite teams, the Sixers and the Raptors. So I cheer for both teams, but when what I saw after game one, what I saw after game two, three, four, five, six is just the refs were choosing the outcome of this game. And yes, Sixers single handedly won game six. And yes, single handedly they won game two, game one. And single handedly they won game three. But I still think single handedly they won game three that game, but the Sixers was not refs on Raptors, was not refs on Sixers. It was just Sixers taking better shots and also in game six as well. But you can't take the fact that Joel Embiid, 7 feet, 280 pounds, having that much flopping. And I thought the NBA started this rule for flops, like they started being fines and suspensions, but they stopped doing that. And the flop is just getting out of hand. And to be honestly, it's not even good for just Raptor fans, but it's not good for the league to see how Embiid was treated by the refs. Like game one was just the beginning of this rigged refs thingy. Like Embiid had like 10 free throws in the first. Game two as well. He had like 11 in the first quarter. Sixers have been having too many free throws. Uh, it's just like too much, man. The fouls were just too much. And if you rewatch every single game, when Sixers drives, foul. But the Raptors drive, no, that's foul. That's all ball. That's all BS, man. It's not just for Toronto or Philly. It's just even with Philly, there was time where game four, the refs were blowing the whistle for the Raptors and not for the Sixers. It was just the outcome is yes, yes, no, yes, no. Like it was so trash, and especially in game six. Do you guys know what a flagrant foul is? It says in the rule book, flinger foul 1, unnecessary contact. That would be flinger foul 1. Flinger foul 2 is when there's unnecessary contact and excessive. So that's on the rule book. So Game 6, Joel Embiid fighting with the board, boxing out Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher falls. Embiid did not like that because they were tangled up. Boucher falls. Before he falls, they were tangled up, and Embiid elbow in the back of Boucher. So when you elbow a guy right on the back, that could cause injury. That should be either flanger foul 1 or a technical foul by Joel Embiid. And what did they call that? A common foul. So when does elbowing a guy with all your strength on his back a common foul? And yes, the Raptors lost that game. And yes, the Raptors played trash. But you gotta look and consider it because that was a close game. And it's just so rigged, man, not just on Philly side, but on both sides. And you saw last night at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, Game 1, Warriors and Grizz. The refs were all over the Grizz. You got Steph, Clay, Draymond with 3 fouls in the first half. Like, it was just garbage, but that's one instant. Second instant between Joel Embiid. So first instance, he elbowed Chris Boucher. Second instance, Pascal Siakam drives. He gets fouled, and Embiid, after the foul whistle went up, Embiid pushes Pascal Siakam. And what did the refs call? Nothing on a pushing, just a ticky-tack foul. The reach foul Embiid, but did not count how Embiid pushed Siakam. And that's extracurricular activity, which should mean a technical foul. And that should have been an ejection for Joel Embiid. That's how should have been. Oh, but no. The refs were all over the Philly side, and they're not going to give a flagrant or a tech on Joel Embiid. And this was wrong, but these are instances which could make either a flagrant foul or a technical foul. But anyways, the Raptors they put up a good fight, and you just gotta thank the Toronto Raptors and bow down the Raptors for a wonderful season. After having a COVID-19 season, playing in a city that were booing the Raptor, which was the Tampa Bay, drafting Scotty Barnes, losing Kyle Lowry, the drama with Goran Dragic, off-season shoulder surgery last season for Pascal, Freddie, his new contract, OG Anunoby. All these guys needed a great season, and everyone underestimated them, and everyone played well this season. From the Fred VanVleet, from the Siakams, the Bouchers, the OG Anunobys, the Scotty Barnes. Even Thaddeus Young, after acquiring him on the trade deadline, he played wonderful. But I want to thank the Toronto Raptors for a wonderful season as they lost in 6 games. And that second half in Game 6 was just a wake-up call, and the Raptors should have started strong, but I felt that they were out of gas in the second half. Rest was going on the Sixers side, and it was just tough because the Raptors did not play well in the second half of Game 6. So round 2 for the Eastern Conference, the Miami Heat played the Philadelphia 76ers. Game 1 was today as the Heat blown them out. Joel Embiid did not play as he got injury from that injury that Pascal did after Joel Embiid did the airplane dance, and fans loved it. I honestly loved it because you can't be doing like that in the first round. So, but that's a different story for another day. As the Heat blew out the Sixers without Kyle Lowry, Jimmy Butler returned, and Bucks playing the Celtics as the Bucks won Game One in a blowout. And Yaz had his second career triple double. So the final four teams: Suns, Mavericks, Warriors, Grizzlies, Bucks, Celtics, and the Miami Heat and the 76ers. And guys, thank you for tuning in to a segment of the Grind Never Stop podcast. This is your host, DJ Joe. And make sure to tune in as well in a couple of hours. We will record an episode previewing the not only the Leafs but the NHL playoffs overall. But I also want to say the Leafs played wonderful tonight as they won 5-0 against the defending champions at Tampa Bay Lightning. As Matthews had his first two-goal game and Marner's first goal in 18 games. But make sure to tune in to our next episode as we'll recapping the Leafs' big win and previewing round one of the NHL playoffs. But thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, DJ Joe, coming to you live at Grind Never Stops podcast. This is your host, DJ Joe, and make sure to check us out on social media. The link is in the description. You can send your donation to our GoFundMe page. The link will be in the description. You can like down there, down here, and you can sub down here too. And thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, DJ Joe, signing out. Mamba out.